Top 5 Gundam game genres that haven't been made yet and should be. Number 1, and this is or one I added, is a Vampire Survivors or, the Auto Battler Swarm Survival. That's what they call it. And then I think I had to generate just a little picture for fun.
Well, it's funny because I think, recently I saw on Twitter someone actually made, like, a Vampire Survivor clone using AI. Like, they just
Oh,
had
yeah.
yeah.
I wonder if see, I can never get I wonder if you showed me that.
Yeah, I mean, making those types of twin stick shooters, the top-down type,
Yeah.
it's a relatively easy format to come up with, and, I mean, the first Helldivers was that.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And so I wonder how much we can get to a point where how much of you is someone rebuilding or reinventing the wheel where, we can use the bones of that. But just kinda going back to the Survivor, that genre of game I get bored of really quick. But
Yeah,
the reason I put so much time in Vampire Survivors is because it had a whole Castlevania DLC. And so
right.
that's the themed stuff I think is a lot more fun because since the gameplay is basic, well, then what do? Well, let's throw in licensed Gundam music. Let's have a lot of cool characters pop up and talk. Let's just make it a whole Gundam
Make
feel.
it like a Gundam, Eternal, G Eternal, like, the whole appeal of G Generation Eternal is not necessarily the gameplay, although it does have pretty rich gameplay.
Yeah.
Um, but it at the end of the day, it is like a collectum gotcha type game. So it's like if you're constantly striving to unlock the next character, I think there's even like a mobile Sonic Runner game where I sank so many hours into that just because I wanted to unlock Knuckles.
Yeah,
For
dude.
what? So that I could play more as Knuckles? Like, it doesn't
That's weird, but no, there was a couple of those too. Wasn't there like a couple Sonic Runner games? I think maybe one was called Sonic Runners, and then there was some, but they were similar.
Yeah.
They're pretty fun. But yeah, that's yeah, I feel like they could do with this, make it where you know what? When you were talking about Eternal, to be honest, I love that menu setup for a game like this because they're mindless. And so it's not really about the game as much as the unlocks. But then, like later in the game, like Vampire Survivors, it's how you're combining different weapons together. And I see that as like evolution of the mobile suit, you know. Anyway, I
Yeah.
this is one I think could be conceptualized a bit more. Let's see. Okay, the second one is a favorite of mine. It would be a side-scrolling shmup, which they've done those in the past. They're SD, and if there's one that's not SD, if someone could tell me, I have not found a non-SD Gundam shmup. But the pitch, classic Gradius or R-type format with Gundams flying through space or Earth orbit, dodging mega beams and fighting fleets. I appreciate, because I used ChatGPT to help come up with this, that they used horizontal shmups as an example instead
Yeah,
of
not
vertical.
top down, yeah.
And I wonder how much that was me when I was like trying to conceptualize a shmup. I was like horizontal and then light Gradius and R-type, and I wonder if it's just spitting that back out. But here's the thing, and I don't even think the screenshot did it justice as much. That looks like it would be on like a Game Boy Color. But when you see the backgrounds and space battle scenes of Zeta Gundam, it reminds me of in Return of the Jedi when Luke is on the Death Star and they're looking out and they're seeing that battle. Like that's sick stuff. And I would love to play a shmup where as I'm moving, the background is slowly like all these battles that are like occurring and all that while you're flying listening to music.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was just thinking to myself how boring a space background would be compared to something like on Earth where you have some parallax scrolling effects where you've got like trees in the foreground and then like a sunset in the background for like Jabro and
Dude, that's exactly my vision for the Victory Gundam game because it starts in a forest and it has this
yeah.
really cool Zelda-esque music. And it would be where you just fly in as it's already, the trees and the light, like you were saying, the sun comes through and then you're just battling the bug-like mobile suits. I forgot what they're called, but
I don't blame you. It's victory.
Shoku, yeah. That's the worst part of Victory for me is the enemy mobile
All
suit.
of it.
Dude, the music I would almost say it has the best music next to Zeta because it's like that Zelda-esque orchestrated music.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've yet to see a Gundam series that doesn't have great music. I mean,
Okay, well, let's
one of
start
my
from
top
no, go
5
ahead.
is in IBO, and, like, IBO is not a series I'm a huge fan of, but, man, I love the music in IBO. The nylon like, the flamenco guitars and, like
You know what? I remember I was telling you I didn't like it, but I was just watching another episode because I'm trying to catch and it's very distinct. I think that's what works. They make it a very distinct sound for Gundam.
yeah. Yeah, they
Okay.
they they always try to have, like, a very characterized
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah, like this music itself, yeah, is a character that goes with the themes. But which for Mercury?
Well,
I
the
can't
operatic singing, the, like, "Ah." Like
during the shows, not just the openings?
yeah, I mean, like, they
Wow, I
have a
don't
very,
remember.
like it's very man, how do I describe it? I was
Choral, like
actually just listening to some, Witch from Mercury music while I was working today. In particular, I was listening to the track because it's my favorite track in the show is when the duel between the Ariel and the Pharact, and it's very heavy on timpanis. It's one of the more up-tempo tracks, and of course, like, anything that has that kind of, like, speed and energy to it, it just sounds cool, but
okay,
it
I'm
was
gonna have to
very
revisit
distinct.
that. 'Cause I'm real big on the speed, the energy that yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Okay, this other one, and this is something you've been working on, the Gundam RTS, and there's not much that I like that it used Company of Heroes or StarCraft. I enjoy Company of Heroes because the way it works with like squads, and then there's abilities you can attach a commander to a squad, and then they're more powerful. You can give them
Yeah.
separate weapons. Like I feel like that could really work in Gundam because we've kind of talked about in a Gundam RTS. How would that work when there's different mobile suit loadouts? Would you want to create your own mobile suits that you build, or is it you build a mobile suit and then you give it a loadout? You know,
It's tough to
um,
say. I mean, you could almost have, like, different unit types based on that because I know that, like, most RTS games, you have, like, different units, like, here's your siege unit, here's your, like, anti-infantry unit, here's your anti-aircraft unit, so you have, like, different units, but in Gundam, yeah, you have tanks, you have fighters and things like that, but most of it's just gonna be the mobile suits. So you almost need mobile suits that are specialized for certain tasks, and so, like, maybe your Desert Zaku, the Zaku cannon,
yeah,
that one is your anti-aircraft Zaku, simply because it's got the shoulder-mounted cannon that can shoot down fighters,
yeah,
for whatever reason. Like, it doesn't have to be, like, super lore accurate, but, like,
right.
for,
Like
um
artillery types, and then the melee types, and
yeah, the ones with bazookas are designed to take down, like, fortified structures versus the ones that have machine guns are ideal for,
yeah.
like, mobile suit encounters.
Dude, I really like this because it's really making me think how much like part of the game could be where you're not playing a map, but you're in a tech tree. Because remember, we were talking about how much we love tech trees, where you're like, okay,
Yeah,
and like, let's say though, building the tech tree, it requires you to have an anti-air, an anti-tank, a melee, but you design them however you want. Like, you could want a
that's
bunch of
pretty cool.
GMs that do that, and I don't know. Yeah, there's something there where part of the game is the tech
Is
tree.
the advancing, yeah.
Yeah. Um.
And there was an RTS, I want no, it was Sierra made it, and it was based on Lord of the Rings. I was a huge fan of it. I think
Oh,
it was called
yeah.
War of the Ring,
Yeah.
and it was one of those games that had, like, hero units that you could play like, you could have Frodo come into or,
Yeah.
like, one of the Nazgul or whatever, and they would have special abilities that were unique to those heroes, and I think that Gundam would definitely have some of that.
Yeah, yeah, building like yeah, let's say you have it where you can call in the RX-78-2 with Amuro in it, or the RX-78-2 with Sayla in it, and maybe depending on the pilot, there's different abilities. That would
Yes.
be cool. See, already that is kind of my favorite conceptually, even though I like the shmup idea, which I want to call out real quick. Um, Autonomous talking about the core fighters.
Oh,
The core
yeah.
booster, because I'm thinking with a shmup, yes, that's the best way to utilize a core fighter core booster. Although I was playing the Bandai, or it's Namco back then, the Air Combat 22 on Switch 2. It's basically the arcade of their, you know, um, Ace Combat games before it became Ace Combat, and thinking, wait, what if that was a core fighter and shooting down Zaku's flying around? That would be sick. Um,
Well, and if you think of it in terms of like classic Nintendo mechanics, like you know how in Super Mario, like you have regular Mario, and then he gets a mushroom and he becomes Big Mario, and then he gets like a fire flower and he becomes
yeah,
Fire Mario. What if you start the game as a core fighter and you can dock with a Gundam, and then you become the Gundam? That's your super mode. And then you can dock with the full armor unit, and so you become the full armor Gundam, and that's like your super mode. And the second you take a hit, armor pops off and you're the Gundam. Second the Gundam takes a hit, pops off and you're just the core fighter again. Like
you
that's
did
like
it.
classic
You
old
did it.
school gamey stuff.
That right there is the best formula. I'm glad you said that because that is exact. Because you could even do that with Victory because it
Yeah.
has all the parts to it. Wow, Steven, I love that you went because I always think with the modern shmup, and I get over it, but when you just absorb a blue glowy thing and now you have a giant laser, it's
Yeah.
like, how does that work? And that
And
doesn't
like
really
now it
matter.
shoots threes and like
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, exactly. Did I just grow 2 other cannons? No, but you bringing that up makes so much sense because each time you get more powerful for so many reasons. Shields, weaponry types that you can use. I'm gonna mess around with that. I love
That
that.
that could be such a fun thing to
That
see.
is. Okay. RTS. Here's a cool one that I didn't think of, a city builder colony simulator.
Yeah.
I because okay, manage a space colony like Side 3 or a post-war Earth city. You juggle population, morale, Federation, or Xeon influence and mobile suit R&D. Politics and infrastructure are core to UC Gundam. Could combine the narrative tension of rebellion with SimCity style gameplay. Build your colony or watch it fall to war. I love that idea. Think about like if there's like riots and you have to like quell the riots, like that's a great idea. Or like
Yeah.
there's something that's like, oh, the Titans now uh are in your city or they're now in your colony, and it's like, oh shit.
Well, and what if it has that sort of like civilization style alternative victory options where it's
Oh,
like, you know, you could go for like the cultural victory by, you know, adopting other colonies to your way of life. Or you can go for like the military victory and that sort of thing. So there's
yes,
ways you could go with it.
dude. And that sounds so good. Okay, here's an interesting one. A Souls-like mecha duelist. So let's read it all though. 1v1 methodical combat where every movement counts. Think Armored Core 6, but grounded in UC tech limits, or Sekiro with beam sabers. Why it works for Gundam, there's weight and drama in iconic Gundam duels, Char vs. Amuro, Hero vs. X, a solo campaign or roguelike gauntlet. No, not roguelike, with intense boss fights or being emotional stakes to gameplay. So I know we've talked about before, oh, this should make a Souls like, but I feel like if you were gonna make a Gundam game that's like a full world and all that, you don't want to necessarily bound it by Souls-like gameplay because you would eventually have to do things that are a little outside that. And then people are like, well, that's not Souls-like. But the way that they're doing this sort of 1v1, like let's say it's not really about the big intense battles, but it's something like the Versus series, but they're just like too quick and too fast. But this would be a little more
Yeah.
grounded. And um, I've never played it, but like the For Honor games, have you heard, from
Yeah.
Ubisoft?
Yeah. I've watched some people play those and I mean, they're pretty cool. Like,
Yeah, I think it would be something like that.
I mean, especially like that type of gameplay would be so awesome to see, you know, like the Packard Shiro
Yes.
duel.
So that's what's cool about this. It could be where it's just a bunch of levels that are duels, right? And then as you beat them, you get those mobile suits, but then you can build your own custom mobile suit that you take online.
Yeah.
That would, oh my
And
God,
then you
Bandai.
could
I hope,
even do the like, you know, you could do the typical like playing multiplayer online where you have somebody come in and help you take on one of these bosses. That would
yeah.
be
I'm glad it put this together because I think there's a lot that you can get out of Souls combat in a campaign focused game. But if they were to make a full on open world, open like narrative, I wouldn't want it to be stuck in a Souls like
yeah.
thing, because that's almost too gamey. It's like, okay, I can go here until I can save, and then it's,
Right.
uh, but anyway, Okay.
Is there anything that, like, you oh, well, I guess there's probably some other,
Yeah. Bonus segment ideas for discussion. Thank you, AI. What genre doesn't work for Gundam and why? I would say dating sim, but if there was a Haman Karn one, then yeah.
yeah, I was just talking to my wife about this because obviously everyone's been trying to get me to watch Double O, and, now I'm watching it and I can't help but think to myself, like, you know, this show is okay. It's not the worst AU, it's not the best,
Right.
but, I can't help but notice that every single female character in this show is, well endowed.
Yeah. That when did that stop? Because IBO goes pretty all out with that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that's true.
So I guess Witch from Mercury.
Yeah, it's gotta be Witch from Mercury, but
But
that's kind of like everybody, like, just the school uniforms in Witch from Mercury are so unflattering. They're like these boxy, like
and that's part of it too, because I mean, I know it's, like a college, right? But
yeah.
yeah, I guess, yeah, they are younger, so yeah, I guess that's probably why you don't see a lot of that. But they didn't do any sexualization really in Witch from Mercury at all,
No,
right?
definitely not to the degree of, like, Double O and Seed,
In
which,
IBO, with
yeah,
the
and
guy having the
IBO.
harem. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah.
It's like this stuff happens, and I'm like, "Okay, is there any other plot to this but that? Because that what is going," Distra um, okay. So, yeah, any other ideas for genre that wouldn't work for I don't think I think anything could really work if the gameplay is there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was one of the things I always thought about, like, Dynasty Warriors was like, man, typically you don't see, like, thousands of mobile suits all
Yeah.
fighting at once, and then I'm watching Double O and I'm like, "Oh, wow, they literally have 1,000 mobile suits fighting against the Gundams." Alright. So much for that. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. Well, so this is interesting because it's saying, like what Gundam series fits best for each genre, and I like this idea, Iron-Blooded Orphans for the Souls-like. Just, from what I've seen, how far I've gotten, it's very much about that. It's like his
yeah,
technique with the melee.
and because beam weapons don't work and it's like everything's heavy hitting, like, it's all melee-based combat, makes sense.
And then well, actually, before we move on, like, I don't know another like, sometimes I think about that though, like, would another Gundam have, like, a different it's almost like Witch for Mercury could be that, like, school sim, and then you do the duels. Like Persona or something. I haven't played Persona, but,
Or
um
Bully.
what?
Or Bully, that old,
Oh, the game, yeah, 2006. Yeah,
yeah.
Rockstar. Yeah, that's actually really good. Uh, but, yeah, other than that, okay, should I like this question. This is when you know AI's cooking. Should Bandai
Mhm.
Namco crowdsource indie devs to explore these ideas? Yeah, 100%. Ubisoft has been doing that with Prince of Persia. Um,
Yeah.
the Dead Cells developer is I don't know if it came out yet, but it's like Prince of Rogue or something. I forget what it's called, but
Interesting.
not the direction I wanted them to go. Again, a roguelike, but
Yeah.
um, and I'm trying to think of other games I've played recently where that it's not like that anymore. It's like, oh, this dev should do this dev should do that. Unless it's an auteur, it's almost like, you should just have a group of people that have a plan and then it will work. Are there
Yeah.
any video game auteurs that you would want to make a Gundam game?
Are there any video game auteurs left? I feel like it's like Druckmann, Kojima, and
Yeah, you're right. Like the guy that did Peter Molyneux, I wouldn't ask him.
yeah.
Um, the Hideaki, no, Miyazaki. Oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
I'm really bad at that. The From Software guy, but they made a Gundam game that was just okay. They made a couple. I didn't play the other ones. Ultronimus he has a lot of videos on his channel of it. The Gundam
Yeah.
Ace series or something. But
Mhm.
they did Unicorn, and while it's cool, ah, it was boring. Um,
Yeah. Well, part of it's probably because it was Unicorn, but
uh,
now are there any, like, alternative game types that you think could work in a Gundam setting that maybe are not typical, like, that there's no, like, name that defines them?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was thinking about this like when I was playing the new I'm feeling a sneeze. Okay, but I can still talk. Okay. I guess it's gone now. I was playing the new Donkey Kong game on Switch too, and I
Yeah.
was thinking if I was to describe what this game is, I wouldn't know how to because
Mhm.
it's completely different, and it's basically because all you're doing is constantly punching, like the rock, and you're just digging. It's like Dig Dug, I guess, but
Okay, yeah.
and I feel like that might be a responsibility Bandai needs to take on, is like making a Gundam game that kinda has its own unique feel to it for it to stand out. Because for me,
100%.
that popular arcade series, I mean, I used to play Virtual On back in the day. It's not too dissimilar from that, but I think that even the Versus series was different. And then I feel like the Versus series then combined with Virtual On and then became like the fighting game series.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so I think it would be Bandai sitting down and being like, "What is something authentic to Gundam that we could give the gaming community?" So,
That's what I think we need for sure.
yeah.
Because yeah, the one that comes to mind for me is one of my favorite games is, Transistor.
Oh, yeah.
Um, love the gameplay in that, and I'm not sure how I would define that because like, it is just kinda like a third person action game, but the combat is so unique in the way that it's strategic and, like, everything becomes deliberate, and so, I don't know how it would work for Gundam, but I feel like it could in a way,
Yeah.
similar to, like, Zeonic Front, where Zeonic Front is like it really felt like Rainbow Six, but with Gundam.
Yeah, very tactical. Like, I love that too.
Yeah.
And even to a degree, Rise from the Ashes is that even though it's a little easier, I guess because it's more, I think, in the context of being first person and those controls makes it seem harder, but it's the feeling. Again, it's the perception. Um, but no, that was good. I feel like we could talk Gundam games forever. I'm gonna go through the chat real quick. So it looks like our top 3, we've got Autonomous at number 1, Fulcrum at number 2, or, no, oh, it changed.
Yeah.
Fulcrum's number 3, that might mean who would be number 2? Goji Effects
Uh,
Unlimited?
yeah, it
Hmm,
looks like it.
that's cool. Let's see, Alan Mitchell, Old Dice, making a Battlefield style game. Yes, Old Dice, exactly.